Now, there is a growing push in cities nationwide to make sure low-income and minority communities are being protected from the impacts of climate change. As Chris Conti shows us, there are some innovative new tools being rolled out to help. Blanketed in snow might seem like an odd time to be talking about just how warm our planet is becoming.
Yeah.
But no matter the season, the work goes on for Roseanne Bongiovanni.
It's really about protecting the people who live in these two communities and protecting our health.
She is with a climate justice nonprofit in Chelsea, Massachusetts, a community where the median income is $26,000. Per capita, it is one of the most densely populated areas in the country. 1.8 square miles with only 5% of open green space and 2% tree canopy cover.
Something needs to be done to reverse these decades of racism and environmental threats that have been placed on low-income communities and communities of color.
All of that means this largely low-income community is quite literally on the front lines of climate change, from rising sea levels to extreme urban heating.
It's no mistake that there's a disproportionate environmental and toxic burden placed on low-income communities and communities of color. And so we know that our communities are also shouldering a disproportionate burden of climate impacts.
You see very large differences between income groups, race, ethnicity, age, language, and socially marginalized populations.
Cutler Cleveland has spent years studying how climate change is disproportionately impacting lower income and minority communities. In the last few years, though, he's seen more American cities pushing to close those gaps.
You have to have those marginalized populations involved in the decision-making process. So the policies are designed from the start with reducing inequity.
To better address the inequities of climate change, many cities are developing maps like this one. It enables you to highlight social vulnerabilities, like low-income households or limited English-speaking neighborhoods, and then select tools that show the increased risk of flooding or extreme heat projections, and see how those communities are impacted by climate change in a disproportionate way.
The affluent and wealthy are going to be able to insulate themselves to a greater extent than lower income households.
How much is it?
Back at Green Roots, they are now deploying air quality measuring devices around the city to better identify areas where residents might benefit from things like an air purifier in their home. There is also a push to paint the tops of some buildings white to reduce the effects of urban heating in the summer.
We need to see action, we need to see resources, we need to see prioritization around Black and immigrant communities.
As the country grapples with a changing climate, a push to make sure no American gets left behind.